What's up, guys? Welcome to the Line Change. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about a possible solution to the Vancouver Canucks' second line center problem. And this is a name that's been floating out there, let's say for last 24 hours or so, or at least post-draft. This is a free agent or a pending UFA, so someone who the Canucks could sign as a free agent. And he's somebody who actually, believe it or not, we spoke about on this channel and, threw out there as a potential UFA target way back closer towards the trade deadline and earlier when the season, I want to say at the start of the year, or at least a month into the calendar year, we threw this name out as it was just a name that was out there that was a potential UFA or an upcoming UFA rather. And we touched on it back then, and now we're touching on it once again because it's looking more and more that it could possibly become a reality. And that person in particular, that solution, is Mikael Granlund. He this past season was played for the Dallas Stars. He was a second line or maybe even a third line center for the Dallas Stars, having been traded from the San Jose Sharks to the Dallas Stars at the deadline. So we're going to be talking about Mikael Granlund and just basically asking the question, is Mikael Granlund the solution to our second line center problem? Obviously, second line centers are not cheap. And when it comes to the Canucks, it's looking like Mikael Granlund is their best option at this point. They already tried to acquire Rossi from the Minnesota Wild. The Wild said no, and they declined their trade package. So and Mikael Granlund, you don't have to trade for. You just simply have to sign him. And of course, the Canucks are very tight on the cap right now because of them acquiring Evander Kane. But that if they have to sign somebody, they're going to figure out a way to move out some cap in order to do so. And if you really think about it, the Canucks have acquired one forward. Now, we said earlier on that they need at least 3 forwards. They've added 1. They still need 2 more. And one of them has to be a center. The other could very well easily be a winger. So, at least with one of those, they're going to have to acquire in a trade. So perhaps they can move out some cap with a trade and then acquire their third forward. But in this one, we're going to be talking about Mikael Granlund. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to give a chance to thank my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. You guys can also check them out on Instagram at Gassy Jack Art. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. I'm actually going to pull up an article that's not from Canucks Army. It's actually from Flames Nation, but they talked about Mikael Granlund being a free agent target for the Flames. Unfortunately, Canucks Army does not have one dedicated strictly to Mikael Granlund, but I wanted to read some things because they talk about, Mikael Granlund, the player. Obviously, we're going to skip over anything relating to the Flames, like the fit and the cost and whatnot. So we're going to skip over those, but we're going to talk about Mikael Granlund and his stats. Basically, Mikael Granlund, as we mentioned, is set to become a unrestricted free agent on July 1st. He's one of the better free agent centers on the market that are relative. Okay, I don't want to say cheap, but not very expensive compared to others. But Mikael Granlund was drafted 9th overall in the 2010 draft. The Finnish left shot center has been in the league for what feels like forever. He started his career with the Minnesota Wild, where he scored a career-high 26 goals and 69 points in 81 games in 2016-2017. He eventually joined the Nashville Predators for parts of 5 seasons, where he picked up his third career 60-plus point season. He found his way to the Pittsburgh Penguins to end the 2022-2023 season before he was involved in the Erik Karlsson trade that sent the Finn to San Jose. In his first season with the Sharks, Granlund scored 12 goals and 50 points in 69 games. Granlund started the 2024-2025 season with the Sharks, scoring 15 goals and 45 points in 52 games before being traded to the Dallas Stars, where he finished the season with 7 goals and 21 points. Overall, the Finn finished with 22 goals and 66 points, the second most goals and third most points in the season. For the first time in his career, Granlund made it to a conference final as his Stars defeated the Colorado Avalanche and Winnipeg Jets in the first 2 rounds, only to lose to the Edmonton Oilers for the second consecutive Western Conference Finals. Now, taking a look at Mikael Granlund's contract, thanks to his 5th career 60-point season, Granlund is predicted and projected to make about $5 million annually on a 2-year contract, according to AFB Analytics. He is worth it, as he's a consistent producer as a second-line center. Now, that is, and then the rest they talk about him being a fit for the Calgary Flames. We're not going to go over that, obviously. But I am going to move over to Puckpedia, and I'm going to pull this. I'm going to share this screen. So I want you guys to see this too. There we go. And then I'm going to go like that. And then boom. All right, so let's move back up. So obviously, his most recent contract was a 4-year, $5 million that he signed with. Who did he sign it with? Was it with San Jose? Or was it with Nashville? Where is it? Okay, so he signed it in 2021. So it was with Pittsburgh, I believe. So it was a 4-year deal with Pittsburgh. He was traded, and then, all right. So, and then as we mentioned, he's projected to still make $5 million, but over a shorter term, which would be 2 years. Now I know a lot of people are probably going to bring this up, but yes, he is 33 years old, so he's a little on the older side. But with a 2-year term, that takes him to his age 35 season. And, if he regresses, which he very well could, you can easily move off of that contract. But right now, the Canucks need immediate help down the middle, and Mikael Granlund can give that to you as your second line center. As we mentioned before, he is, look down at his stats. So he is, dating all the way back to his debut with Minnesota, his second season in the NHL back in 2013-2014. He had 41 points, 8 goals, 33 assists in 63 games. And then he followed it up with a 39-point season, 8 goals, 31 assists for 39 points in 68 games. And then he moved up to 44 points the following year, 13 goals, 31 assists in 82 games. And then he really broke out in 2016-2017 with the Minnesota Wild, getting 69 points, 26 goals, 43 assists in 81 games played. And then he followed that up with a 67-point season, 21 goals, 46 assists in 77 games. He did take a bit of a dip in 2018, 2019, only getting 49 points, 15 goals, 34 assists in 63 games. And then he was traded to Nashville, where he only played 16 games and had 5 points in 16 games, a goal, and 4 assists. His first full season with Nashville, he only had 30 points. In 2019-2020, 17 goals, 13 assists in 63 games. And then in 2020-2021, which was the shortened pandemic season, he had 27 points, 13 goals, 14 assists in 51 games. And then in 2021-2022, he was back up in the 60-point range, getting 64 points, 11 goals, and 53 assists in 80 games. And then he was back down to 36 points, 9 goals, and 27 assists in 58 games in 2022-2023. And then that was when he was traded to Pittsburgh. And he spent 21 games as a Pittsburgh Penguin, getting 5 points, a goal, and 4 assists in those 21 games. And that's when he was moved to the San Jose Sharks, where he had 60 points in 69 games, 12 goals, 48 assists. And then his second season with the Sharks, 45 points in 52 games, 15 goals, 30 assists. And then he finished off, and then he was traded at the deadline to the Dallas Stars and played 31 games for them, getting 21 points, 7 goals, 14 assists. So he, as we mentioned, he has at least 5 times had 60 or more points in a season. And that is, so he's essentially a 60 plus point getter as a second line center. And that is someone that you want as a second line center. You want a 60 or a 60 plus caliber player as your second line center. So that's another reason why I think Mikael Granlund is a perfect fit for the Vancouver Canucks. Just based off his production, we saw him, once he was traded from San Jose to Dallas, he really started to heat up, and we saw how he performed on a bad team with San Jose, still getting at least between 40 to 60 points, even with a bad team such as San Jose. Just imagine what he can do on an actual good team. We saw glimpses of that in his brief time with the Dallas Stars. And I just think Mikael Granlund is the guy. I know for the longest time I was on that Marco Rossi hype train, but it's looking more and more like we're not going to be getting Rossi. So who's your next best thing and next best cheaper or cheapish option? It's Mikael Granlund. So that's why I'm really high on Mikael Granlund. I think he's the guy that the Canucks are going to sign in free agency, as of course you cannot trade for him, although Dallas could very well trade his rights to the Vancouver Canucks. There's a possibility that could happen, but at the same time, I do think the Canucks can easily afford Mikael Granlund at 5 years over, a 5 times 2. But let's take a look at at Mikael Granlund's player card. His obviously born in 1992, February 26th. So halfway through this upcoming season, he will turn 34. He's 5'10", 185 pounds, shoots left. His hockey IQ is an 88. His skating is at an 87. His shot is at a 79. And then his puck moving / passing is at a 90. His compete and consistency is at a 90. His power play is at a 90. His penalty kill is at a 79. His physicality is at a 60. And then his defensive zone starts are at an 80. And then you have his offensive zone starts at a 90. And of course, he's projected as a second line forward. So right away, his puck moving, passing jumps out at me, as well as his skating and his hockey IQ. Obviously, that's not where you really want to see for his shot being at a 79. We like that to be like an 80 to an 85 or higher. Obviously, the penalty killing being at a 79 is a little bit of a, makes you kind of question it a little bit. And same goes with a physicality. But all in all, I do like the fit for Mikael Granlund for the Vancouver Canucks as their second line center and their solution. I mean, this may not be a long-term solution, and obviously you want that. But if this guy is a solution for the short term, at this point, the fact that they haven't filled that hole, and that hole it has been essentially vacant since January. Fill it with Mikael Granlund in the short term, and then maybe if Granlund's not really working out, you could always flip him, maybe at the deadline or something, or perhaps just see if he works out for the next 2 years and then move on from him. But at the end of the day, I do think, if the Canucks are going to sign anybody, it is going to be Mikael Granlund, because, that second line center giant hole that they have there is priority. And despite them having not done anything to fill it yet, I do think, within the next 24 to 48 hours, they are going to do so. But I want to know what you guys think. At the end of the day, do you guys think Mikael Granlund is the guy that the Canucks should go out and acquire? Is he someone who you see as a second line center? Do you think he is the answer or the solution for the Canucks' second line center problem? And are you okay with the 60 or 60 plus point totals for a second line center? I mentioned in my previous video talking about Jordan Kyrou, I was talking about, that top six being, Jake DeBrusk, EP40, and Kyrou. And then you had Garland, Granlund, and then Kane. That is the top six that I was kind of slyly referring to. Imagine that as your top six. Yes, it's not the best, but it's something, and it's better than what we have now. And it does sound pretty promising having Garland, Granlund, and Kane. And of course, your first line being DeBrusk, EP40, and Kyrou. Again, a little bit of fantasy right there, but between the two, I do think Mikael Granlund or the Canucks signing Mikael Granlund is a lot more realistic than them going out and trading for Jordan Kyrou. But at the end of the day, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about Mikael Granlund? Do you think, as I mentioned, do you think he is the solution or the answer to the Vancouver Canucks' second line center problem? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. But that's going to do it for this video. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned. July 1st, technically tomorrow morning, I will be on Calgary Canucks' 3-hour live stream for July 1st Frenzy. 10:45 is when I'll be on. So be sure to check him out. I believe he's starting at 10 o'clock, at 10 a.m. So yeah, go ahead, check him out. Calgary Canucks. I'll be there, and we'll be talking the draft. We'll be talking about free agency. We'll be talking about all things Canucks. Speaking of which, go Canucks go. And I'll see you guys next time.